Hey, this is René, welcome back for another video. And today I want to talk about the COT, Commitment of Traders Data. And I will show you how to get it, first of all, in the MetaTrader 5, and then how you can use it to build expert advisors or to just display them as an indicator on the chart.
This video is presented by BM Trading. Learn to code your own expert advisors. Link in the description.
So to start off, what is the COT data? I prepared a little bit here. You probably heard of it before, but maybe you are not 100% familiar with it. Also, I gotta say, I'm not like an absolute expert on it. I just started diving deeper into this topic because I know that many people use it and I wanted to know what all the hype is about. So there is this Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, and they report or they publish a report with the COT data every Friday. This is a few days after they collected all the information. I think the information is collected on Tuesday, if I'm not wrong. And what is happening is that huge banks or also producers and users of products have to report their investment in future contracts. And if we have a look at this CFTC website here, we can, for example, open one of these reports and they look like this. So you probably saw this before. So you have all of the different markets here: silver, gold, micro gold, etc., etc. And here you can see the positions. Like, for example, here we have producers and users. Here we have swap dealers. Here we have managed money and other reportables. And we also have like the financial future contracts, and they have a report that looks a little bit different. If we have a look at this here, then the headline will be dealer, asset manager, leveraged funds, and other reportables. So these are pretty much the reports, how they look like. It is a little bit confusing, to be honest. So there are ways to display this in a simpler way. So for example, you maybe know some charting platforms like this bar chart website. They do offer a display of the COT data, so you can see it here, and you could always come here and just read it and see how the development is. Like, for example, here, this green line, there is the non-commercials. The red line is the commercials. So this is exactly what I talked about, like the producer, for example, and the users. Like, if there's a company that uses gold for their products, then there would be a commercial, I would say. And then you can see how the investment in future contracts changed over time. Like here, for example, currently the commercials hold 48,089 long contracts. But here at the 27th of July 2023, it was reported that overall they hold, or the net position was 231,000 short contracts. And this is always the calculation, like long contracts minus short contracts. And then we do get the number that is then displayed in this chart. The same thing is probably also available in other charting platforms like TradingView, I think. And you usually have these at least two or these three lines, like the small speculators, for example, like you and I, then the non-commercials and the commercials. But in the MetaTrader 5, we do not have this by default, so we will have to find our own solution for this. And in this video, I want to talk about this, how you can do this. So I will show you how I wrote this indicator so you can copy it for yourself. And yeah, first of all, let's see what we can do to achieve this in the MetaTrader. So as I said, this data here, it comes in a very weird format, and we could theoretically also use this, but it is a lot of work because it's not really in a structured way. So I had a second look on this CFTC platform on the website, and I realized that they actually do offer a official API, and I will link all of the websites that I talk about in this video below in a comment, so you can also read yourself through the websites and understand what is going on. I cannot explain everything in absolute detail here. I just want to give you a rough overview, and then you can read yourself through the information that I provide below. So what we can see here, for example, we have the COT legacy futures only, and you can see here we do also have all of the entries, and we could also filter and stuff, but also we can see there's the API that is linked here. So if I click on this will lead us to another website. So now we're leaving the federal government website and we go to a non-federal website, as the text says, and this is the API that is, I think it is implemented using a third-party backend, which is Socrata. I did not really dive deep into this topic. I just had a look at the API and how we can use it. But if you're interested, you can read everything that is on this page, and here you can see how exactly this API works. For me, the most important thing was that we do have different APIs here, like we could use the Python API, PowerShell. I don't know, you see there are different things that we do see here, but what I wanted to do is just use this jQuery here, and here we do find a URL. So if we take this URL and we post it somewhere in our web browser here, we can see this will actually give us all of the data in a different format. And we can also, I think this is only in Chrome, but we can ask for a formatting here, and then we can see all of the data is structured beautifully now. And this is structured in the JSON format, which works, which is a text-based format pretty much, which helps to work with huge chunks of data that are usually transmitted over the internet. And this works with arrays and objects, but then there's like this specific formatting, which is always the same. So different applications or software can use the same or can receive the same string of data and interpret it the right way because they know it's in the JSON format. And what I also figured out is that we can, for example, like this is all of the data now. So you can see here we have wheat, here we have another wheat, here we have yet another one. But if I go down here, you can see we do also have soybeans, and we have all sorts of COT data that was reported. But what we can do is we can say we want to add contract market name, and then we add the contract market name that we want to filter. And if I add, for example, gold, now we will only see the reporting for gold. So every entry here is now gold, and this is exactly what we want. And here you can also see we have the reported date and time, and this really helps us to work with this data later on. So yeah, this is the first part that we need to understand to actually know where the data that we will now work with in the MetaTrader 5 is coming from. Because this is a URL that you can pretty much call from anywhere. It's not really like protected or anything. You could call this specific URL in any web browser and you would get the response that I got here. And we can also call it from our MetaTrader 5 program, and this is what I wanted to do. So in the MetaTrader 5, let me go to my meta editor and explain you the indicator that I wrote here. This is the CFTC Futures Only Legacy COT indicator that I coded. And I think I can also create a Git repository and link it also below the video so you can download it quickly with just one click. But here I will make sure to explain you what I did in this program so you are not completely lost, and you can also then use this program, not only the indicator, but also the logic in general to write your own expert advisors and, for example, enter positions only if the commercials are on your side or if you're against the speculators. So what we do here is we first of all include 3 files. The first one is just the array object, which is MQL5 native. So this is something you are probably familiar with. Then we also have the internetlib.mqh file and the JSON.mqh file. And both of these files are not default MQL5 files or MetaTrader 5 files, so you will have to download them. I will also put links in the video description, but I downloaded them already. And I will not go through all of these files, but I will explain quickly what they do. So the internetlib.mqh file, it helps us with HTTP requests. So it imports the WinInet DLL, which is the Windows library for internet connections and HTTP requests. And here we do see that we get we import all of these functions here that we do need to make HTTP requests using the WinInet DLL. And then there is this MQLnet class defined here in this file. And we see a lot of functions that we will then use in our own indicator. And inside of these functions, you see that the original author made use of all of these functions from the Windows DLL. So this is super helpful for us because we don't have to deal with the Windows library on our own because it's super complicated. And this is done already here for us. So props to the author. And then we also have the JSON file. I don't know, the author is not here, but you will probably find it if you follow the link. And this file helps us to work, so serialize or deserialize JSON strings or JSON objects. And what this means is, in short, that we can use a string like this, so a long text, and then we can use this JSON or CJVal class that was provided or that is provided in this JSON.mqh file, and we can use this class to feed the string to the class pretty much, and then deserialize it, I think, to create the JSON object. And then we can access every single object in this array here and every single parameter of the object. And yeah, this is what we will have a look at now in the actual indicator code. Yeah, so I will not talk about these files more. If you're interested, you can just download them and read yourself through the files, but I will explain the file that I wrote on my own. So as I said, I included these 3 files. Then I created a bunch of properties. And this is the normal stuff that we do in the MetaTrader 5. If we want to set up an indicator, I say where I want to display. This is, of course, a separate chart here because we want to have it below the main chart. And then we have 3 lines here. So we will need 3 buffers and 3 plots. So this is what I also defined up here, 3 plots, 3 buffers. Then next up is the how the lines should look like. And I want to have a line for the commercials, for the non-commercials, and for the non-reportable. Or in other words, commercials are usually considered the smart money. Non-reportable usually is considered the dumb money. And non-commercial, I don't know what this is. And then, we say this is the label. It should be a line every time. It should be a solid line. It has a specific color and a width. So this is what we define for all of these 3 lines. Then there is one class that is defined here. So I defined the class COT data, and it inherits from CObject. So it is an object, and it has a bunch of member variables here. So we do have the name, we do have the time, we do have the commercial long, short, commercial net, non-commercial long, short, non-commercial net, non-reportable long short, and non-reportable net. Why did I choose these variables? Because this is the data that I want to use and display in the MetaTrader 5. And as I showed you before, in these super complex JSON objects here, we do have a lot more data. Like actually we could read so much more from this. And if you are interested, you can definitely adjust the code and read more of this information and store it in the object. But I decided to just go for what is actually interesting to us. So for example, here we see that we have the non-com underscore positions underscore shorts short all, and we have the non-com positions long all. So this is, for example, what we will read to calculate the net position of the non-commercials. Then we also have the same for the commercials here. And then we also have the same for the non-reportables or the dump money. So this is why we use these. Also, I wanted to have the reporting date here and the name of the market that we are currently looking at. So these are pretty much the member variables that I created. Then also I created a constructor for this class. It takes one parameter, which is a CJVal object, and this is taken from, like, this is as I said, this is the CJVal class, and if we create CJVal objects, we can then pass it to our CCOT data, the newly created object or the object that we want to create, and then we automatically fill all of this information that we take from this JSON or CJVal object. And then also we have a function to print or to turn the information from this class here to a text and then return it. And then we have the compare function, because we want to make sure that we can sort an array where we have all of the COT data objects in. So this is how this class looks. We will need it or use it to store all of the COT data that we receive from this API. Then we have a bunch of inputs, the contract market name, for example, which is, for example, EuroFX or gold, and then the year where we want to start to receive the data from the API. And then we want to say if we want to display the commercials, the non-commercials, and the non-reportables. Then we create 3 arrays for the 3 lines. This is also MetaTrader 5 indicator basics. If you want to learn more about the MetaTrader 5 basics, you will also find a link below this video where you can find a complete course that I created to teach you everything you need to know, all of the programming basics also. This is nothing that I will cover in this video, but if you're interested, you will find it in the description. Then we create a CArray object, which I called reports. And this is where I want to put all of my CCOT data objects that we will create later on. And then we have one variable for which is the last day variable. Actually, I'm not sure if we do need it. We will need this last day variable to check if there is a new day in the chart, because then we want to receive the COT data again and update everything. Then in the onInit function, we set the indicator digits to 0, because the displayed information it does not have any digits after the decimal points, because this is just the net position, which is the long future contracts minus the short future contracts. Then we do set or we map the buffers to the plots. We map the arrays here to the buffers, and then we set everything as series, and then we set the empty value for the plots. This is what we do for all 3 of the buffers and all 3 of the plots. And then here we want to check if we are currently in the tester. If yes, we want to get the reports. So what is this get reports function? The get reports function is also can be found in this file, and this is the most important function, I would say, because this is the one that calls the API and stores all of the COT data points in the array that we already created. So what do we do here? These lines are just comments, but here we first of all specify the contract name, and we just take it directly from the input, from the contract market name input. Then we have a limit here, and this is not super important, but this just means that we want to get a maximum of 1 million data points from this API. It just means that we want to check pretty much everything that we can get. And then we define the from year. So this API is not super fast, I would say, and also processing the data takes a while because it's a lot of data. That's why I said we can define the from year, because usually you don't really need the COT data from, I don't know, from 20 years ago. So this is a chance for you to define if you want to get it for all of the years or maybe just for the current year, if that's enough for your analysis. Then we have to define the host, and this is now the host and the object, and this is now important for the HTTP request. So this is what is requested later on by this MQL.net class here. So again, if you want to learn more, read yourself through the internetlib.mql5. So we have to define the host, which is pretty much just the address of the host, as the name says. And this can be taken here from this URL. It's the first part of the URL. And the second part actually is the object. So we do have the first part, which is public reporting.cftc.gov. And then we do have the object, which is pretty much just the rest. So as I said here, we have resource, then this identifier.json, and then next are some post parameters, I think. So we do have the contract name, and I explained this before. Contract name, for example, is gold or EuroFX or whatever, or wheat, SRW. And then we do have the limit here. As I said, this means that we want to get a lot of data. And then we have this where. So where will tell us when or what data we actually want to get from the API. And here I said we want to get the data where report date as year, month, date, whatever is greater than the from year. Because this report date as blah, 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 it is also one of the things that we get for every of these JSON objects here. So you can see report date, and if we check if it's greater than X, we can filter out all of the COT reports that were reported before this X. So yeah, this is pretty much how it looks. So if I, for example, take this whole information here, I will show it to you in the correct formatting or the normal formatting, so it's easier to understand. So I could go here and say, I want to post it here. So you can see now, like the first part again is the host, just the address. And then this is the object that is, that we sent. Wait, let me post this here again. And let me go through this. So here we have resource, and then this is like the important for the API, and then .json, and then this question mark, and then we provide all of the post parameters. So here this weird formatting is just because I use the string format function in the MQL5 code, but I could also change this and say here instead of this %s, we want to type like gold, for example, or let's say EuroFX, and then we print this end. And then there's limit, and then limit could be, as I said, we can also just say 100, for example, or 1 million if we want to get everything. And then we have end where, and then we have report date, blah, 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 is greater than. And here we have to provide something like, let's say 24. And this is important that this is in single quotation marks because it is a string. And if I click go, we will now see that here we get the EuroFX data. And it should not go back further than 2024 actually. And yeah, here you see we get all of this like 2024 data now, starting at the beginning and ending in December 2024. So this is how you can play around with this API also in your web browser to get used to it. And for example, if I change this from 2024 to 2020, for example, then I get more data, of course. So this is how host and object are created. And then we have the port for HTTP requests. The default port is 80. So we will just use this. Then this is another comment just for my development process. But here we then create this MQL.net object, which is just called net here. And then we call the open function. The open function takes the host and the port, and it will establish the connection to this specific address. Once or when this is successful, we can then call the request function, which can also be found in this internetlib.mqh file. And here we specify the what is this called? The verb. So we want to send a GET request. Oh, it's actually a GET request, not a POST request. Yeah, because we have the parameter in the URL, I think. Yeah, I'm not an expert on this networking stuff. But yeah, we send a GET request, and then we do have the object here now. So the program knows what specific program or page or whatever we want to call on this host. And then we have a result string. And the result string will be filled by the request function, and this is where all of this then is stored, like what I had here before. Like all of this information, this very huge string is then stored in this unformatted, very weird format here in this result variable. And this is where now then we close the connection here, net.close, we close the internet connection, and then we are done pretty much with the networking stuff. And then we have this very long string stored in this res or res variable, and now the JSON part starts. So here we have we create a object of type cjval, and this is just called JSON, and then we say JSON deserialize. This is used to take the string and then turn it into JSON, a JSON object that we can work with. So how can we work with this? Now, this is not a JSON tutorial, so if you're interested, it's actually not that complicated. You can read it also in the internet, but it will help us to, like here you can see this is pretty much in the JSON terminology, this is a array of JSON objects. So we do have multiple indexes for all of these objects. So every object has an index. This is 0, for example, in the JSON object. This is 1, this is 2, etc., etc. And then every object has these names here, and we can use them to address the values that are stored in these variables. So how do we do this in our MetaTrader code? So here you can see we first deserialize this, and then we go through, like as I said, from 0 to, we go through all of the objects in this JSON. So here we go from 0 until 0, I is smaller than JSON size, and then we always say we create one of our COT data objects. And we take the data, or we pass the JSON object that we are currently looking at as the parameter for the constructor here. And then the constructor will take it, let's go back here, and it will read the information from this specific JSON object. And as I said here, we can now use just like the name of the, I don't know if it's called variable also here, but we can just use the name here to get the specific value. So we get, for example, the contract market name, the report date, the commercials, positions long, etc., etc. And we use all of this information from the JSON object to fill the member variables of the COT data object. And after we did this, here in our get reports function, down here, where we stopped before, we put everything in this COT object, and then we store it, or we add it to the reports array. And then in the end, we just sort this array, and that's it. And by the way, we can only sort because we implemented the compare function here in the COT data class. And the compare function, it will just compare two objects, and it will just compare the time, because as we know, the COT data is only published once per week, so every time is unique, and we can use it perfectly to just sort the array. Okay, that's it. So then this was where we stopped previously in the onInit. So this is the get reports function. So then, and this is actually important if you want to use it in the strategy tester, because then we only need to get the reports once, because the strategy test is usually over in one day, so there will not be any more new COT data. But it can be different in the onCalculate if you run it in a live chart. Because in a live chart, we want to check also if there's a new day, because if there's a new day, then there might be a new COT data, and then we want to get the reports again and update our function. Actually, I think it would be great to clear the reports array before we do this, right? Also, we don't really need this. So here we can say reports clear. Yeah, and then we get the reports again. Okay, so we check for a new day. If there's a new day, we get the reports again, because there might be a new entry in the COT data report for our market that we are looking at. Then here we check if previous calculated is 0, because if this is the first run or execution of the onCalculate, then we want to initialize all of our buffers here with the empty value, because we said here that the empty value is indeed the empty value constant, which is just a very huge number, I think. Yes, the double max number. Then here we also check if rates total is unequal previous calculated, because if there's a new bar in the chart, we want to set the value for this new bar for all of our 3 buffers also to empty value. Then afterwards, here we want to check if there's a new day. And if there's a new day, we want to go through all of our COT data in this reports array. We want to get every single entry, and then we could print it, but this is not really important for live usage. And then we get the index where this COT data can be found in the current chart with the period current time frame. So we will use the COT time to get the shift to this specific bar in the chart. And if we find this index in the chart, then we want to check if we want to display this data series, like we check if we want to display the commercials, the non-commercials, the non-reportables, and if we want to do so, then we want to fill new values in the array. Like for example, for the commercials, we want to fill in the buffer commercial array. Here we want to say we want to start at array size buffer commercial minus index minus 1. So and then we want to add a like X values here, which is index plus 1. And then we want to store the COT commercial net value from this specific COT event here in the array. Why do we use the array fill here? Because we want to fill, or the COT data usually, as I said, is published on, I think, Friday morning in the US, but the actual date of the COT event is a little bit earlier, because as I said, the publishing happens on Friday, but the information was already reported on Tuesday. So from Tuesday to Friday, we will have to fill everything and not only the Friday. And this is why we use array fill. Then we say last day, which is our global variable, should be also DT day of year. Like this is the last day variable. So we can make sure that our code is actually really only processed once per day. And then last but not least, we have to check if there's a new bar in the chart, because if there is a new bar in the chart, then also the latest bar or the new bar should also receive the value of the previous bar. This is important because COT data happens on a weekly chart, as I said, but still you might want to display it in a daily chart, like here, for example. Or you might want to display it in a 5-minute chart. And then for every single bar, you have to update the values, of course. And as you can see here, if I change the time frame, it will always take a while because it will have to get the data from the API, and then it will have to display the data. I don't know why it is not displayed in the M5 chart. Let me run this again. Now it is displayed. Yeah, sometimes you just have to refresh it 1 or 2 times. I think I could also handle this in the code, but yeah, I didn't do it at this point. And yeah, you can see like here, for example, for the 5-minute chart, you really have the same data value for multiple days, because as I said, it's only reported or updated once per week. And yeah, that's basically it. Also, as you can see here in this activation, for example, I received the data for gold from the API. I started in 2010, and I only get the commercials because non-commercials and non-reportables are turned off. And here, for example, I only get the non-reportables because commercials and non-commercials are turned off. So yeah, that's basically it. So I hope I was able to explain this code a little bit, but really, if you download the data from my Git repository and just have a look at it yourself, you will easily understand what is done here, because the indicator is not super complex, and because we can make use of the internet lib and the JSON file here, like most of the actual work is already done by importing these files, because they are what is they hold the classes that do most of the work. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Hope you can use this. And yeah, by the way, you don't have to use this for an indicator. You can also use this for an expert advisor to filter or to get a bias for the trend direction. For example, if you want to follow the smart money, or if you don't want to follow the dumb money. So yeah, I hope you like it. And this was the COT data for MetaTrader 5 using the official CFTC data API. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye.